Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Stephen Carroll and we're joined by Bloomberg's earnings specialist, Chloe Mele. Chloe, good morning to you. Starting with IWG, flexible workplaces. What's going on with them?
Yes, so IWG shares fell by quite a bit this morning. So as you said, it provides co-working spaces and the revenue fell, and it also narrowed its guidance for the full year towards the lower end of the range. And it said that was because of further investment in the business rather than weakness in demand, really. But the market did respond to that lower guidance quite negatively. But there were some positive things in that statement that are maybe kind of worth mentioning. IWG did increase its buyback, and it also said that the shift towards hybrid working is propelling it to the fastest growth that it has ever seen in its history. In March, it had already posted record revenue and earnings for 2024 because companies were really embracing flexible office policies, and it seems like it is doing really, really well in that area and really benefiting from it. But the short-term investment into the business and the impact on the Ebitda is a little bit disappointing to the market, maybe.
Yeah, indeed, those shares 15% lower this morning. International Workplace Group is I couldn't remember which word was the last one.
It's group.
It's group, thank you. As I was trying to figure out what IWG was as I was reading it out loud. Let's turn to defence next. Rheinmetall shares a bit lower this morning. What's going on?
Yeah, we've seen some weakness in defence shares kind of across the board. So Rheinmetall obviously being the biggest one, but we've also seen some weakness in BAE Systems, in Leonardo, in Hensoldt. The defence stocks have been really responding to the ongoing talks over peace in Ukraine over the last few days. So kind of going up or down depending on how likely the market is envisioning a peace deal, really. What they seem to be responding to today is Trump urging a meeting between Putin and Zelensky, which would then be followed by a meeting between all three leaders, so Trump, Putin and Zelensky. And so that's kind of weighing on the shares there. Another thing weighing that potentially is also that Ukraine proposed buying $100 billion in American weapons. So as Trump is kind of continuing to push to kind of broker an end to this conflict, we might see continued movements up or down in that defense sector. But right now, it's definitely not a done deal at all. Trump did acknowledge that the time and location for a meeting have not been set yet, and it's really unclear if Putin would be open to it anyway.
Yeah, indeed. So Rheinmetall shares down just over 4% this morning in Germany. And to Glencore next in the mining space. Shares up.
Yeah, so Glencore and then other mining names. So if we look at Anglo-American or ArcelorMittal, for example, more in that kind of steel-making sector, they're also up this morning. And that's because there's been a positive read across from the results from BHP in Australia. So BHP, which is the world's largest miner, it actually reported a significant fall in profits to the lowest level since the pandemic. And that's because the price of iron ore has been under a lot of pressure because of weak demand in China, especially from the struggling property sector there, and then also a lot of global supply. So that led BHP to sell iron ore at prices 19% lower than a year ago. So that could have been seen as a negative, but BHP did provide quite a positive outlook. It said that future commodity demand could recover thanks to policy support in China, and then also strong exports, at least resilient exports from China, despite slower economic growth. And also it said that growth in India, where we know we've seen a lot of growing infrastructure and spending, manufacturing expansion, a lot of that should drive a rise in demand for metals. So that should be quite positive. And so we've seen that positive read across for the rest of the European miners.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.